Before we delve into the depths of this virtue, let's start by understanding its common definition. Chastity is often defined as the state of refraining from extramarital, or especially from all, sexual intercourse. That's a virtue that is frequently associated with purity and abstention, particularly in the context of sex and relationships. Given this definition, one might question how Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers of the United States and a man known for his complex personal relationships, could advocate for the virtue of chastity. Franklin fathered an illegitimate son and had a common-law wife, Deborah Reed, with whom he had 2 children. These aspects of his personal life seem to contradict the traditional understanding of chastity. However, Franklin's interpretation of chastity was not confined to sexual conduct. He defined chastity as rarely use venery but for health or offspring, never to dullness, weakness, or the injury of your own or another's peace or reputation. His perspective was not one of austerity or asceticism. Instead, it focused on responsible use of physical desires to ensure they didn't interfere with one's health, peace, or reputation. This interpretation extended to all forms of desire and indulgence, advocating for moderation and self-control in all aspects of life. In this course, we'll be focusing on Franklin's definition of chastity. We'll explore how this broader interpretation of chastity, which encompasses not just sexual behavior, but all forms of desire and indulgence, can be applied in our lives today. This understanding of chastity as moderation and self-control can guide us in making responsible decisions, maintaining our health and peace, and respecting the well-being of others. By embracing this virtue in the way Franklin intended, we can lead more balanced and fulfilling lives.
To the discerning inhabitants of the 21st century, I write this letter with an intriguing mix of joy and wonder as I reflect on the enormous strides humanity has taken since my own time in the 18th century. With these advancements, the virtues that guided us have inevitably evolved to meet the unique challenges of your era. One such virtue that has frequently been misunderstood is the virtue of chastity. When I crafted my list of 13 virtues, I designed them as flexible guides for living a virtuous life, adaptable to the ever-changing landscape of human existence. Chastity, in my eyes, was less about a rigid abstention from physical pleasures, but rather an insistence on conducting oneself with conscious thought, ensuring respect for oneself and others. The guiding principle was, rarely use venery, but for health or offspring, never to dullness, weakness, or the injury of your own or another's peace or reputation. It was not a condemnation of the act itself, but a warning against its misuse that could result in harm. In my time, societal norms, especially surrounding relationships and sexual conduct, were rather stringent. Chastity helped maintain societal order and individual respectability, warding off scandal and impropriety. Yet I always believed this virtue encompassed more than just physical relationships, extending to a general sense of moderation and mindfulness in all aspects of life. As I understand, in your era, chastity assumes a new dimension. It extends to our behavior online, urging us to ensure our digital interactions reflect respect for ourselves and others. It encompasses treating all relationships, regardless of their form, with care, consideration, and respect. Despite the significant shifts in societal norms, the essence of chastity as a virtue remains unaltered. It is respect for oneself and others, moderation, and thoughtful conduct. It goes beyond physical indulgences, permeating every facet of life, from the time spent on social media to the manner in which we engage with our diverse world. It is a clarion call to exercise prudence, not merely in personal relations, but in the dialogues we foster, the bonds we cultivate, and the footprints we leave in the digital cosmos that ubiquitously encompasses your lives. As we stand on the brink of a world further interconnected by the tendrils of technology, I beckon you to cultivate a renewed understanding of chastity, one that encourages a harmonious blend of tradition and contemporary wisdom. It invites you to forge a future where respect and empathy are not relics of a bygone era, but vital tenets that guide our interactions both in the corporeal and virtual realms. In this vibrant tapestry of the 21st century, where boundaries are constantly being redefined, I envision chastity as a beacon of light that guides us towards a society that values the sanctity of human connections, that cherishes the depth of meaningful relationships, and that endeavors to nurture a culture that is both respectful and enriching. In closing, I urge each one of you to reflect upon the expansive horizon of chastity, to embrace its modern iterations, and to embody its spirit in every endeavor you undertake. Let it be a virtue that guides you towards a life of balance, a life that celebrates the beauty of human connections in all their myriad forms, and a life that fosters a community that is compassionate, respectful, and inclusive. Yours in pursuit of virtue, Benjamin Franklin.
In the 18th century, the virtue of chastity was viewed through a lens that was heavily influenced by societal norms and religious beliefs. Chastity, in the context of American culture at the time, was largely associated with sexual purity and abstention from sexual relations outside of marriage. This understanding of chastity was deeply ingrained in society and was seen as a cornerstone of moral integrity. The societal expectations around chastity were rigid and well-defined. Men and women were expected to uphold the virtue of chastity, with any deviation from these expectations often met with societal disapproval and scandal. For instance, having a child out of wedlock was considered a significant breach of these societal norms. This brings us to the example of Benjamin Franklin, who fathered an illegitimate son, William. By the standards of 18th century society, this act was seen as a violation of the virtue of chastity. However, Franklin's response to this situation provides insight into his unique interpretation of chastity. Despite the societal disapproval, Franklin took responsibility for his son. He raised William, provided for his education, and even appointed him as the royal governor of New Jersey. This act of taking responsibility for his actions and their consequences demonstrates Franklin's understanding of chastity. For him, chastity was not just about sexual purity, but about responsible behavior, moderation, and self-control in all areas of life. Franklin's actions showed that he lived by his definition of chastity, even if it was at odds with the societal norms of his time. He demonstrated that chastity, as he understood it, was not about conforming to societal expectations, but about personal responsibility, moderation, and respect for oneself and others. Today, the virtue of chastity holds significant relevance and importance. As society evolves and becomes more complex, the need for moderation, self-control, and responsible behavior in various aspects of our lives becomes increasingly crucial. In the context of personal health and well-being, chastity is of paramount importance. It encourages us to exercise moderation and self-control in our lifestyle choices. This aligns with the virtues of temperance and moderation, which advocate for balance and restraint in our actions. For instance, in our diet and exercise habits, practicing chastity could mean avoiding overindulgence in unhealthy foods and maintaining a balanced and moderate approach to physical activity. It's about making responsible choices that prioritize our health and well-being, much like the virtue of frugality encourages us to make wise and sustainable choices. In the digital age, the virtue of chastity is particularly relevant. It encourages us to exercise restraint in our use of technology and social media, aligning with the virtue of moderation. This could mean being mindful of the amount of time we spend online, the content we consume and share, and ensuring our digital interactions contribute positively to our mental health and do not harm our peace or reputation. It's about using these platforms responsibly and in a way that respects our own well-being and the well-being of others. When it comes to financial decisions, chastity can guide us to live within our means, avoid excessive spending, and make responsible and sustainable financial choices. This echoes the virtue of frugality, which encourages us to be mindful of our resources and use them wisely. Chastity in this context is about ensuring our financial habits do not lead to stress or harm our peace of mind, and that we maintain a balanced approach to our financial health. In our professional lives, chastity can be applied by maintaining a balanced approach to work, avoiding overwork or burnout, and ensuring our professional pursuits do not negatively impact our health, relationships, or personal peace. This aligns with the virtues of moderation and temperance, which advocate for balance and restraint in our actions. It's about ensuring that our pursuit of professional success does not compromise our well-being or peace of mind. In the context of relationships today, chastity holds a unique and significant place. It's not just about sexual conduct, but extends to the broader aspects of relationships, aligning with the virtues of respect, honesty, and responsibility. Chastity in relationships today means exercising self-control and moderation in our interactions with others. It's about maintaining respect for personal boundaries, being honest and transparent in our communications, and taking responsibility for our actions. This interpretation of chastity encourages us to build relationships that are based on mutual respect, understanding, and care. It's about ensuring that our relationships contribute positively to our well-being and the well-being of others, and do not harm our peace or reputation. Chastity also plays a vital role in our conversations and interactions with others. It's about exercising self-control and moderation in our speech and listening habits, aligning with the virtues of respect and patience. Practicing chastity in conversations means being mindful of the words we choose, the tone we use, and the feedback we provide. It's about ensuring our conversations are respectful, constructive, and considerate. Moreover, chastity in listening is about giving others our full attention, showing respect for their thoughts and feelings, and refraining from interrupting or dismissing their perspectives. It's about exercising self-control to avoid jumping to conclusions or making hasty judgments. This practice aligns with the virtue of patience, encouraging us to listen attentively and respond thoughtfully. In essence, the virtue of chastity, as defined by Benjamin Franklin, is a guiding principle that encourages moderation, self-control, and responsible behavior. Its importance in our modern world cannot be overstated. By embracing this understanding of chastity, we can navigate the complexities of modern life with wisdom and responsibility, contributing to a healthier, more respectful, and understanding society. Cultivating chastity in our lives today may initially seem daunting or even antiquated, given the historical connotations of this virtue. However, embracing the lens of Franklin's broader, more nuanced interpretation of chastity can offer us practical and meaningful guidance in our contemporary lives. On your virtues chart, track your practice of chastity each day this week. Ask your daily questions of, what good shall I do this day in the mornings, and what good have I done today in the evenings? Note in your journal how the practice feels. Reflect on any challenges. Here are 6 practical ways to cultivate chastity in the coming weeks. Practice moderation in your diet and exercise habits. Avoid overindulgence in unhealthy foods, and aim for a balanced and moderate approach to physical activity. Reflect on how this practice impacts your health and well-being. Set boundaries for your use of technology and social media for a week. This could mean limiting the amount of time you spend online each day, being mindful of the content you consume and share, or ensuring your digital interactions are positive and respectful. For a month, practice living within your means. Avoid excessive spending and make responsible and sustainable financial choices. Reflect on how this practice impacts your financial health and peace of mind. For 2 weeks, maintain a balanced approach to work. Avoid overwork and ensure your professional pursuits do not negatively impact your health, relationships, or personal peace. Reflect on how this practice impacts your professional life and well-being. For a month, practice chastity in your relationships. This could mean maintaining respect for personal boundaries, being honest and transparent in your communications, and taking responsibility for your actions. Reflect on how this practice impacts your relationships and your own well-being. For 2 weeks, practice chastity in your conversations and listening habits. This can mean being mindful of the words you choose, the tone you use, and the feedback you provide. It could also mean giving others your full attention when they're speaking, showing respect for their thoughts and feelings, and refraining from interrupting or dismissing their perspectives. Remember, the goal of these assignments is to practice the virtue of chastity as defined by Benjamin Franklin: moderation, self-control, and responsible behavior.